Today we're going to talk about Intro to Polynomials. So this might be something that's new to most of you, but I think when we start looking at them, you'll understand what it is that we're talking about. So the first thing is let's just define some of the terms that we're going to be using. So a monomial is a number or a product of numbers and variables with whole number exponents, and then a polynomial is a monomial or a sum or difference of monomials. So it's terms. A monomial is just like a term, and then a polynomial is the sum or difference of terms. So polynomials have no variables in the denominator, and all variables are whole number exponents. So we're not talking about fraction exponents, and we're not talking about negative exponents. So there are three types of polynomials that are named. The first one is a monomial, and it's a polynomial with one term. A binomial is a polynomial with two terms. And a trinomial is a polynomial with three terms. Anything over three terms is just called a polynomial. We don't name the ones that are greater than three terms. The degree of a monomial is the sum of the exponents of the variables. So for example, the degree of 5x to the third y squared is 5 because 3 and 2, so it's just the exponents of the variables. 3 plus 2 equals 5. And so the degree is 5. Now, you only add the exponents when it's a monomial. Notice there are no addition or subtraction signs in a monomial. The degree of a polynomial is given by the term with the greatest exponent. So this is anything over that is greater than a monomial. So anything that has more than one term. So for example, the degree of 5x to the third plus 8x squared plus 3x minus 17 is 3 because that is the greatest exponent of all of those terms, those monomials. So we always want to make sure that they are put in order from greatest exponent to least. So notice I have x to the third first, then x squared, then x, and then no x. So they have to be in order from greatest to least of exponents. And so the degree then is the degree of the very first term. So in this case, it's 3. A polynomial is in standard form, and that's what I just was talking about, when its terms are written in descending order by degree. The leading coefficient of a polynomial is the coefficient of the first term when written in standard form. So to find the degree and to find the leading coefficient, they have to be written in standard form, which is that descending order from greatest exponent down to no exponent. So for example, the degree of 5x to the third plus 8x squared plus 3x minus 17 is 3. We already talked about that because that's the greatest exponent. And the leading coefficient is 5 because it is the coefficient of the first term. So remember, I'm talking about coefficients. Coefficients are the numbers that are in front of the variables. So the leading coefficient will be the number in front of the variable with the highest degree. So in this case, it's the number in front of the x to the third. So here's our first example. Find the degree and leading coefficient. Well, we have to look at this and say, well, this is a monomial because it's only one term. There's nothing being added or subtracted. It's one term. So if I want to find the degree in a monomial, I add up all the exponents. So there's one exponent. There's the other exponent. What about that z? It doesn't have an exponent, but remember, if it doesn't have an exponent, it's assumed to be 1. So any variable that doesn't have an exponent, it really does. It's just that invisible 1. So the degree is 5 plus 1, which is 11. So we add up those 3 degrees and get the degree of that monomial as 11. The leading coefficient is the number that's in front, and so the leading coefficient is 7, and so we put down 7 right there. All right, example 2. Now this is a polynomial because it has multiple terms. So it has multiple things that are being multiplied and or not multiplied, added and subtracted. And this one is already in order from greatest exponent down to least. So it's 5, 3, 2, 1, and then no exponent. So we're going to find the degree and the leading coefficient. So I'm going to look at the degree first, and because it's a polynomial, it's just the highest degree. It's the first term, so the degree is 5. And then I'm going to look at the leading coefficient. Well, it's the number that's in front of the variable that has the highest degree, so it's 3. It's the number in front of the x to the 5th. So 3 is my leading coefficient. Our next example, 4x squared plus 2x to the 6th minus x to the 3rd plus 8. Now this one is not in standard form because x squared is not the highest exponent. So I need to put these in order from highest exponent to lowest. So I'm going to move that 2x to the 6th, that's my highest, and then I have an x to the 3rd, and then an x squared, and then a no x. So I just rewrite them and remember that that negative stays with that x to the 3rd. So I get 2x to the 6th minus x to the 3rd plus 4x squared plus 8. So that was the first thing I had to do before I can find degree or coefficient. And so now I'm looking for the degree. Well, it's the first term. It's the degree of the first term when it's written in standard form. So there's my degree. So it is 6. And then the leading coefficient is the number that's in front of that term, which is 2. So my leading coefficient is 2. All right, so now I'm going to let you practice some of these. So the first assignment that you have is posted on Alex, and you just need to find the degree and the leading coefficient. And you should be all set to do that. So good luck, and make sure you get that turned in.